Many consider it to be the greatest sports car and race car of its class, the Corvette.
The Corvette, is just an unbelievable machine.
Today, we'll follow Corvette Racing and their two new cars in the main event at the Sebring International Raceway.
We've never raced in an environment that's going to be as intense as this one.
We'll go to the race, and then we'll look back, seeing how the cars were put together and made ready to run.
I think right now everyone goes to sleep at night having nightmares about us.
It's a game of odds.
25% great team, 25% great car, and 50% luck.
Those odds come into play as we then head back to the track to see Corvette's new racers going for one thing only.
No, we didn't come here to finish second and third. We came here to win.
And you're expected to win every time.
You're expected because you're king of the hill, Corvette. Racing today, here on Rides. It's always been both a race car and a daily driver, with the track machines being direct siblings of the production models. To own one is to know that the model that won Le Mans is based on the car in your driveway. Corvettes have had a dual life for over 50 years, redefining the ultimate sports car every time a new edition arrives. And with the arrival of the new C6, it looks like Corvette has again made the cool even cooler. In 2004, the C6 had its big coming out party in Detroit. And if there was any way to top matters, it had to be done with another Corvette. Enter the Z06, the 500 horsepower vet so dynamic you might want to own more than just one.
It's a great car. I can't wait to buy a new Z06.
Z06 owners embrace their race car kinship, knowing Corvette learns on the track and then puts that knowledge into the showroom.
Many things that are part of this sixth generation car are things that were learned on the racetrack. And specifically in the Z06 car that we're premiering here for the 2006 model year, I mean, it practically is the C6 racer brought to the street for customers to buy.
That's the way Corvette does it. They build a great car. They also make a racing version of the car. And they make a high-end street edition of everything that's fast and tough in the race car. 3 cars: the popular Corvette, the high-end street Corvette, and the racing Corvette, with the race cars facing tougher competition than ever before. Because high-end car makers are creating faster racing versions of their rides just to take on Corvette. It's a fact not lost on the top brass at Corvette Racing.
We've never raced in an environment that's going to be as intense as this one. So, I mean, we're going to see Ferrari 550s this year. New on the scene is the Maserati, and that thing is going to be wickedly fast. The Aston Martin, I mean, essentially, that's just a green Ferrari.
We won Le Mans in 1959. We've not won it since, but what you see behind me is our challenge for this year.
The pace of the car so far, I suppose, has made people take note.
It's going to be battles every place we go. They all want one thing, and that's to dethrone Corvette. Our job, make sure that that doesn't happen.
We are defending.
2 new cars will race to keep Corvette in the winner's circle at the annual 12 Hours of Sebring. And the cars will be manned by 2 experienced and winning teams. Drivers always ready to be at the wheels of those racers sporting the numbers 3 and 4.
The 4 car, Olivier Beretta, his teammate, Jan Magnussen. The 3rd guy, Oliver Gavin.
I will be driving the first stint, yes.
And the 3 car?
Johnny O'Connell, Max Pappas, and Ron's become the cornerstone of the program.
I wouldn't bet against a Corvette.
I mean, from where I'm sitting, there's nobody else out there that I want.
It's a big event requiring stamina, featuring large teams, high stakes, and for this crew, a lot of pride.
We feel very proud to take the Corvette to world competition venues and be representing Team Corvette, be representing General Motors. We also are representing the United States.
This is an international race, the U.S. cousin of that overseas epic, Le Mans.
More often than not, this race is lost, not won, because it's so long. I mean, the ultimate thing for us is that a Corvette wins.
Max Pappas drives to win and keep a victory streak running in the family. After all, his father-in-law is race champion E05 Fittipaldi.
He's one of my heroes. You can see I got his autograph on the back of my helmet.
And soon the start time is mere minutes away.
Hey, Ron.
Good luck, Ollie.
Have a good one, man. You too.
It's a 3.7-mile course, road racing featuring straightaways up against hairpin turns. Second only to Le Mans in international stature, Sebring attracts the world's finest sports car teams on the third Saturday of every March to battle on this famous circuit. So with the moment now here, it's time to wave that flag and start. It's 4 different classes all running at the same time, featuring prototype racers and GT1 class production-based models like Corvette. This annual race has taken place for over 50 years. And as America's premier sports car endurance race, Sebring gets off to a fast start and stays that way for the next dozen hours. It doesn't take long for Corvette to grab early leads, with Ron Fellows driving car 3 and Oliver Gavin in car 4. And even though these are new machines, nobody's shocked. In qualifying rounds, the cars came in first and second, the positions they're hoping for when all this is capped with a waving checkered flag. Early on, there's already engine trouble for a Porsche running in the GT2 class, but the Corvettes are trouble-free. And in these early hours, it continues to be a race belonging to 3 and 4.
Sebring is the oldest continuously running road race in the United States. It started life as a World War II air base. So it's giant patches of concrete, giant patches of asphalt, seams, bumps, holes, potholes. It is the roughest surface on which we race.
It takes a big team to run, support, and monitor the cars, with every vehicle switching drivers about every 100 minutes, or when there's a tire change. If a race like this can boil down to anything specific, it might be easy to say that it's about time gained, lost, or saved in the pit stops. As we mentioned, Corvette racing has family from the fast lane, and for race legend E05 Fittipaldi, his pride runs deep, with son-in-law Max being one of the drivers of car 3.
Corvette's going to win, that's my opinion. I'm very, very impressed with the car, very impressed with the team. I walk around the paddock. To me, looks the most professional, the most dedicated team. Again, the Corvette's a very traditional name. It'd be great to see the Corvette challenge all these European cars.
And it's the American team from Corvette that is dominating deep into this race. It's Oliver Gavin in first and Ron Fellows running second. As always, the study of these cars on the track allows GM to improve their street models. And with these C6Rs being the basic equivalent of the showroom available Z06, there's no doubt that you are watching with a great deal of interest, looking to see just how your future race car is shaping up. With the sun going down and the race about 2/3 into the books, it looks like there are predictable leaders in this 53rd annual Sebring event. Number 3 and number 4 are still in first and second, far ahead of the others. Safe to say, it looks good for the vets. Talk in the stands already brings chat about how the Corvettes will surely be the top 2 winners once the race is over. Of course, in this sport, things can change awfully fast.
Going into turn 17, fastest part of the racetrack, I went to the brakes and the right front rotor just exploded, disintegrated. And so, at that point, it was really just do everything I can to actually try to get the car to spin. And so I started throwing it down gears, spun, hit the barrier.
No brakes. Gotta talk to us, Johnny. Yeah, something broke. no brakes. Something broke. The brake blew up. The right front brake blew up.
That was the unexpected story late into the day of 12 hours of Sebring. And as the team got the car into the pit, the scramble was on to make things right. Luckily, the team has another car on the track representing the club, but that doesn't make things right with this bunch, a crew that gets things spot on from the moment they first build the cars. And for that story, we're going to leave this track and go back in time to about 1 month ago, to a place way north of here. The American Midwest and cars. They've been partners since the dawn of the automobile. From miles of rural racetracks to world-famous plants in Detroit, this region is car country. And when it comes to fast cars, here in the unassuming town of New Hudson, Michigan, it's Pratt Miller. This is where Corvette comes to make their sports cars into racers. And once the racers show what works on the track, the knowledge is put back onto the street. But here at Pratt Miller, it's all about racing.
My name is Dan Banks. I'm the crew chief on the 3-car. This is our new Corvette, new C6R hot rod. It's all carbon fiber body, has carbon fiber brakes, has the new LS7 engine.
See, before these new Corvette race cars could run down in Sebring, they had to be built up here at Pratt Miller.
This is basically like a space shuttle, and a Winston Cup car is a Cessna.
Just try impressing a guy who's seen a lot of race cars.
This thing is outrageous. Everything that you can look at or buy or that's trick, this thing has it. The seat actually has a cooling airflow system through it. Sucks air from outside and blows it through the seat.
Air comes in a hose from the outside of the car and actually cools the back of the driver as it blows through the hole.
While racing, this is the hot seat.
Anything to keep the driver cool. The car gets to about 180 degrees inside, so.
That temperature demands innovation, and innovation here benefits street cars. As for comparisons with the Z06, well, these racers are about 450 pounds lighter than the Z, with the C6R having about 100 more horses than the 500-horse Z06. It's trial and error like electronic testing that perfects matters.
Basically what I'm doing right now is interfacing with the ECU, which controls the engine, basically doing a systems check to make sure everything is ready to go.
And once it's ready to go, it's time to crank it over. Sounds good now, but it hasn't always been this way.
People tend to forget that we got our butts kicked for a relatively long period of time. Went back, worked harder, got faster. So this level of success we've achieved wasn't just bestowed upon us.
In 1996, they secretly developed the C5R. In '99, everybody was in their rearview mirror thanks to a stunning debut in Daytona.
After that, the rest is pretty much history. Our goal, obviously, go out, kick everybody's butt, and come back with a championship every place we go.
And they've done just that for the last few years, with Corvette racing winning more awards than they seem to have room for. And every time there's a new race car put together here at Pratt Miller, the job comes with a lot of serious design work.
My name is Tom Dean, CAD designer. This entire body was actually designed on the computer with CFD simulation. You know, we can figure out what those life expectancies and things of that nature are before we ever actually manufacture the very first part.
Rules are different in race design, and that's why GM has production car designers hanging out with guys who make race cars.
It was decided from General Motors, hey, it really makes sense. Put an engineer from the production team with the race team, take all the learnings from racing in that accelerated fashion, take them back to production and share those things hand in hand as we look at the next generation for the Corvette. One of the other real strong tools that we're able to use is called computational fluid dynamics. It's an aerodynamic study looking at the real sleek design, the windshield to roof to backlight on the street car. That came from these aerodynamic studies on the race car.
Again, it's race technology put back to the street, especially when the car's the Z06, the high-end Corvette that is basically this race car for the speed demon in all of us. Of course, these racers don't have luxuries you'll find in the showroom, because these cars need to be tough beyond reason.
It's hard to believe that's a taillight. It just works off of little LEDs and it shoots on the reflector and lights up the whole brake light or the taillight. Our cars have to have lights. Basically, if it doesn't have the lights and they're not working, you can't leave the pit lane. It's part of the rules. Basically, we've thrown these on the ground, we've tested them, we can't make them fail. They're just incredible. One other thing that we have is basically a rear view camera. The driver can watch, and also this gets transmitted to the pit lane, and I can watch for them. We can watch it real time with all the information coming straight to the pits, all the oil temperature, we know what gear he's in, we know how fast it's going at every moment.
This team leaves nothing to chance. But then again, we already know something they don't. Something went wrong at Sebring. And for the answer to that problem, maybe it's time to check out the following.
The carbon fiber brakes are really cool. Basically, like the Stealth Bomber uses them, they work really good at high temperature. They run about 900 degrees, and they can stay there the whole time. When we come in like for pit stops, you'll look in there and it'll be glowing bright red. You can't believe they can keep going. And they'll last around 20 hours at Sebring. They're $10,000 a set.
Well, it was $10,000 that didn't quite pay out the way it should have. New Corvette race cars are made here at Pratt Miller. These rockets on wheels have just been out for a shakedown, but now it's time to get it all working like clockwork. The need for precision is crucial. Corvette has become one of the most successful organizations in racing today, and with these new cars, they'd like to keep on winning. These are the C6R models, the race versions of both the new C6 Corvette and the more powerful Z06. C6R racers run in 12 hours of Sebring, the race where rides from all around the world are severely tested.
Sebring is a real rough track, and it brings out the worst of everybody. Probably the harshest track. So that's why we do all our testing down there in Sebring.
You know, it's not like Daytona where they have lights now. It's really demanding on the drivers to keep their concentration.
It's an old airport, so everything's uneven, and it beats stuff up pretty bad.
If you've not been to Sebring, you can do all the testing you want. But until you've run 12 hours at Sebring, you have not proven your car to be worthy.
Now we can stand on the gas and hopefully bring home a couple victories.
A couple victories, at least. See, in the last few years, Corvette racing has made its presence known in the world of high-speed competition, now seen as the team you'd like to beat, but probably can't. A lot of investment, time, and talent has gone into Team Corvette, a club that takes its racing and its race cars very seriously.
Corvette is an important car in the car world. It's an important vehicle. We're charged with the responsibility of living up to what that car is. And these guys have embraced that. They see it, they feel it, they live it, they breathe it every single day.
And in the race world, much of that responsibility is about having the right technology to keep Corvette in the winner's circle.
The technology that's required to compete at this level is unending. You never really get it done. It's a continuous process.
For many, Corvettes are in that elusive place between the track and the street, always coming up with new tricks, new innovations, and most of all, new ways to win.
99% of all the machine parts on the car are made in this department. Between us and the fabrication department on the other side of the wall over here, we basically make all the cars.
As we continue to look back at this build that occurred before the race, we know the team here expects more than just a win. With 2 rides running, they won't be happy with anything less than second and first place. At least, that was the hope back then. But with one of the cars having already crashed, well, we'll just have to see what's possible once we get back to Sebring.
No, must have been me.
These cars are light. Their bodies are made of carbon fiber. The control arms are made of chromoly space-age tubing. The carbon fiber rotors are each 10 pounds lighter than a stock rotor. The front and rear windshields are made of polycarbonate. It's the kind of equipment you want when you race in the big leagues. And for many, it doesn't get any bigger than racing in this series known worldwide as Le Mans.
Buried in that American Le Mans series are 4 classes of cars. The Le Mans prototype cars, which are the open cockpit, purpose-built race cars, have 2 different classes based on engine displacement and overall vehicle weight. The LMPs, Le Mans prototypes. And then there's the GT1 class. That's the class in which the Corvette races. That's the most advanced of the production-based cars. And then there's a GT2 class for the less powerful, but nonetheless still representative of production-based vehicles. So there's actually 4 races taking place simultaneously.
Sebring will be one of those events where all 4 classes will be running in the race. The new C6R Corvettes have a lot to live up to. The last model of Corvette racer was the popular C5R, a car that proved to be a winner time and time again. It was a consistent winner at Sebring, and as anyone knows, whether your class is GT1, GT2, P1, or P2, if your ride wins at Sebring, you have great drivers. But without a doubt, you also have one champ of a race car.
What you're seeing here is probably one of the finest American sports cars, Corvette C5R. Throughout its racing career, 55 starts, 35 wins, 4 ALMS championships, 3 Le Mans victories. Quite an impressive run for the C5, but now we're on to C6. And some of the differences, some of the major differences, the back is 3 inches shorter on the new car. You know, this looked like a sleek race car when we had it, till we got the C6 done, and then it kind of looked like it had a huge overhang on it. The new car is much more compact. We used the same wing, basic wing design as we had on the C5, on the C6. We've improved safety in the fueling area of the C5. We had a tragic accident last year at Sears Point with Dale Jr. driving, backed into the wall, and we had fuel in the fuel filler, which runs from the area outside here into the fuel cells, which are held internally in the car. We had just fueled the car, that got damaged, dripped down onto the exhaust, caught on fire. So what we've done on the C6 from a safety standpoint, we've taken and put a long filling snout on our fuelers so that now no fuel is held in here. We reach all the way through that tube and right down into the fuel cell, and that's where the quick disconnect is, so that no longer will there ever be fuel stored in that. One of our lessons learned in racing. I think some of the biggest changes, obviously, in headlights. You know, we talked to the production people. They came to us, said, how can we help you build a better race car? We said, you know, if we could get flush fit headlights, that would be a big gain for us aerodynamically. They went ahead and you notice on the C6 it has flush headlights. So we've gone away from the little pop-ups that were in production. Certainly as important, you know, all the air that we took in Corvette had to come through these 2 little slits in the front. That's the way the production car was. Now on C6, we went to the design guys. They came to us, said, hey, we could use just one big old opening in front. That would be most helpful. Lo and behold, what do they give us? One big old opening. So that's been helpful. So those are just a few of the things that visually you can see make the C6 a much better race car than the C5. The car's been in development for 2 years. All the while we were racing C5, we were developing C6. So it's been an ongoing effort. We knew when we debuted the car that all the eyes of the world were going to be upon us and that our competitors were going to be expecting great things, and we think we'll be able to develop that with C6. You know, when you look at the competition record of the Corvette, it only stands to reason that people who are involved in racing would want these cars to go race. And in fact, we've sold several of these to competitors, both here in the United States and in Europe. But there's a whole nother element of competitors out there that are interested in the cars, and that's the collectors. And there's a huge competition among collectors to acquire valuable pieces of racing memorabilia. This is a prime example of that. This is the car, in fact, that Dale Earnhardt Jr. drove at Sears Point last year. Unfortunately, it's also the car that he backed into the concrete barrier, caught on fire, and did sustain some minor injuries. Now, not that we would prey on that to try and escalate the price, but I can tell you anything that any of the Earnhardts have ever driven raises the value of that vehicle. And we have a number of collectors right now who are clamoring and competing against one another to acquire this vehicle. We found, oddly enough, that we can raise more funds for the race program selling cars to collectors than we can to competitors. Now, granted, they're not going to use as many spare parts, but the first cost is pretty high. The collectors wager among themselves, they bid, they raise the price, and we eventually sell. So it's a whole side of this racing game that you really never see and is difficult to comprehend, but the collectors kind of rule when it comes to getting the high price for the race cars. Well, we never really talk about price, but I can tell you that in previous collector editions, pricing might start at about $500,000. You know, it's pretty amazing when you look at the Corvette as a production car. I want you to think about this. A car probably has a base price, I haven't checked recently, but $42,000 or $43,000. It's the only car like it in the world. When you look at the performance level, and I'm talking to just flat 0 to 60, how it brakes, how it corners, 1G on the skid pad, keep in mind the price. Plus, at the beginning of the day, you can throw 2 sets of golf clubs in there. You can throw luggage. You can take your wife or your girlfriend or your buddy, head out on a 10-hour trip to go golfing, spend a week's worth of time there, drive back, get out, and still feel refreshed and walk around. Now, granted, there's cars like Ferrari can match the performance, but you're going to pay twice as much just to start. And you're not going to fit 2 sets of golf clubs in it. You're not going to get any luggage in it. The car is just for profiling. The Corvette has utility, performance, and price, and it's the only car in the world that can deliver those 3 things at the level that it does. It's an amazing vehicle. Aston Martin, beautiful car, well put together, well put out, wonderfully appointed, great performance, but again, over twice the price. Those are the cars which we're competing against. The new Maserati that we compete with in the American Le Mans Series, that car costs over $1 million. It's amazing. And we're going ahead, we're not only racing against them, but we're beating them. We're dominating them. And we're doing that with a car that you can run down to your Chevrolet dealer and buy. That is, to me, pretty amazing. And a testament to the GM engineering that goes into each one of these things. The ability to do that, to provide you that performance at that price, is just unheralded and unequaled anyplace else in the world.
It's what we like to think of is that this is really almost the working man's supercar. You take the Ferraris and the Aston Martins that are several $100,000, and the guy can go out and buy a Corvette for less than $50,000, and it looks just like the same thing that is out there beating the Ferraris and beating the Aston Martins, and he can be proud of that, knowing that there is some of the technology and engineering transferred back into his street car. And really, that's where the pride comes in, and then the fact that it's America's sports car. That's what the fans just love.
In motorsports, many a race is won or lost in the pit, and that's where a top crew can mean all the difference. These cars have been built to be worked on quickly, and the team here has been busy.
We've been practicing every day for the last couple days, and we're going to continue doing it until we leave next Thursday. Well, as you can see, we're not physical specimens here, but you know, we try to not be, we try to be as tough as we can in the pits. Our pit stops are usually as good as anybody, maybe a little bit better.
Ball.
That was a 16.5 on mine, 16.7, somewhere in there.
Not bad. But you know what? Why don't we all try it yet again?
Pull!
Pull!
Go.
When race day comes, it's kind of like going to war. We all step up our game, we do what we have to do, and mistakes there seem to go away. Everybody just puts their game face on, and that's really what it's all about. It's all about race day and the battle against the guys in the pits next to us.
So as the race approaches with every passing day, the crew here knows that Sebring is never easy. Not even for a team that appears to have worked all the bugs out of the experience. Of course, sometimes the trick is in not thinking that you've mastered it all. Not just yet, anyway.
It's just a difficult surface. It's a difficult circuit. We love running there. It took us a long time to achieve victory there with the Corvette. It was our Bermuda Triangle. We had more stuff go wrong at Sebring than we've ever had before, from garbage bags blowing up onto intakes to nose brackets failing and dragging noses, and just every time you think you were poised for victory, something would bite us there. Eventually, we beat the curse, and we've enjoyed good success.
Let's hope he's right, even though we've already witnessed the trouble at Sebring. A place that still might strongly resemble the Bermuda Triangle. The team here at Pratt Miller in New Hudson, Michigan is putting the finishing touches on the new state-of-the-art C6R race cars for that winning club known as Team Corvette. The cars will be defending their crown at that international test of ride and driver with the accurate name 12 Hours of Sebring.
A nice easy day. We're close to where we need to be, and we're going to do a little shop cleanup here. We'll get ready for the next week just before the big parade.
So with the machines together and a plan underway, it's time to pack it all up and head down south.
Got everything loaded up. All that stuff's done. Transmissions are done. Engines are all here. We're looking pretty good. Everybody's doing a good job.
Like clockwork, Corvette has now moved their massive operation down to the warm, thrill-seeking town of Sebring, Florida, the location of the race, as well as the place where enthusiastic fans have come early to support their team.
The Corvette teams, of course.
This team is outstanding, and I'm excited about the debut of the C6R. It's going to be a great weekend.
It might be a great weekend after more testing shows a pair of ready cars. As for the fans, well, they are ready for autographs.
The autograph signing session yesterday, the line here was just a mile long. I mean, people just love the Corvettes. Who wouldn't love Corvette?
Who? Try the competitors, who are all looking particularly fierce this year.
The competition's stronger than ever, so it should be a great race. You know, the Ferrari's tough, the Maserati's tough. You know, everybody out there is tough. I worry about everybody that doesn't have a bow tie on the front of their car.
Those Corvettes with the bow ties will carry drivers who tell us who they are, where they're from, and how the team found them.
He's a redneck from Georgia. You know what? We picked him up after he was plowing the back 90.
Jokes aside, heavy concentration resides here with Team Corvette. There's a lot to prove with two new cars representing the organization. This comes after years of running the C5R, and they made that ride into a winner.
You know, it took us 3 years to figure out how to win here. And we won 3 in a row.
I think the difference, come 12 hours into this race is going to be that, when you go to a race with Corvette Racing, you're going with a car that is strong enough to go 12 hours competitively. And, again, I think right now everyone goes to sleep at night having nightmares about us.
This is probably as deep a field for GT1 as we've seen since we started this program.
And who worries the competition?
The Corvette is very strong, and the Aston Martin.
Aston Martin, that young team with the old name, now spreading fear from Italy to Detroit.
I think car to car, the Aston Martin, both in the car and in the professionalism of the ProDrive team from the UK, that is our strongest adversary this year.
James Bond always knew they were quick.
The pace of the car so far, I suppose, has made people take notice, which is a great thing for us.
They made quite a bit of gain from yesterday to today, so they look like they're right on the pace.
Just got outstanding drivers, really. That's what they're worried about.
We're going to find out.
I'm not sure we're going to be as quick as the Corvettes, but hopefully we won't be too far behind. Well, I think for anyone to beat Corvette, I think we'll have to have a bit of luck on their side. but third place is definitely up for grabs.
More testing goes on during these days before the race, with drivers knowing that Sebring is home to a very fast track.
Yeah, top speed here is about 170 miles an hour heading into the last turn.
You know, I never look at the speedometer. I'm afraid.
Unlike round racing, where you're racing cars all of the relative same speed as yourself, in road racing here, there's actually 4 different classes, 4 different races going on at the same time. 4 cars with all different speed capabilities. So you're not just driving out the front looking at the guy you're going to pass who's slower than you. You got to be fully cognizant of what's going on in your rearview mirrors, because there's guys that have 30 miles an hour on you in the LMP class that are just about ready to come up and pass you. So you have to not only be paying attention to what's going on in front, you have to know what's going on in back. That's just from the brain power standpoint. When you look at racing in the dark, this is not a lit circuit. You're running on headlights. So you're running down the backstretch at 180 miles an hour using your headlights. It's not like all lit up like you see at nighttime racing in NASCAR. Not to mention the shifting and braking. You know, in NASCAR, you're stepping on the gas. Here, you're mashing on the brakes, standing on the clutch, steering left, steering right, changing gears, up, down, coordinating all those motions in an environment that's about 150 degrees. So it's significantly different from a physical standpoint than a roundy-round car.
And for something real different, we've been invited to ride with Ron Fellows.
And we're going to get to do a lap of the Sebring circuit, all 17 corners. Dude! Thank you. Well, we're now just heading down pit lane. If we were in the race car, we'd hit the pit speed button, which is a limiter that limits our speed to 60 kilometers an hour, or what's that, 37, 38 miles an hour. Sebring is certainly a track that handling is critical, and that's certainly the strong suit of the Corvette, and particularly the C6. One of the coolest things about the Corvette is the Corvette owner is as passionate group as you'll ever find. They are fanatics. If you're a fan of Corvette, you are one passionate, enthusiastic individual. It's a unique phenomenon.
And if the new C6Rs do grab their expected first and second titles, yet another Corvette could take third. It's an independent team that will be running the older C5R. And while it's not part of Team Corvette, it is a very winning model of a Chevy race car.
So we're running in a car that's about a year and a half, 2 years older than the car they currently run.
Oddly, it's a Corvette underdog.
You know, our budget would consist of about 10% or 12% of what their annual budget is, so we're a privateer team, and it's like David and Goliath.
And to define ironic,
boy, if we could beat them in their own car, that'd be the cat's meow.
So it seems they are all gunning for Corvette, including another Corvette. That's the way it is when you're the reigning champ of the GT1 class. Every team wants to take that crown right off your head.
But I would imagine they've got a little something for us come Sunday.
When race day arrives, the team from Corvette has the market cornered on confidence. That's because they're ready.
Great car, done it a million times, know what we got to do, and so I think we're going to be in good shape.
Good shape, and yet, even the kings of the hill don't know that later, something is going to go wrong.
Well, you know, I never like to predict that. I like to, I know what my job is. If we do our job there, we should be in a good position at the end.
But a good position at the end often starts with a good position from the start. And for Corvette, it's already looking good, with the cars qualifying in the top 2 positions. In other words, right now, these are the cars to beat. And as we witnessed before, the Corvettes started big and stayed strong for the first 8 hours of the race, doing what everybody thought they would do, dominate. In fact, as the day moved on, many spectators had only one question in mind. What car is going to take third place? Well, that very question took a surprising turn when the number 3 car for Corvette had a sudden and unexpected change of direction. And as the rest of the pack went zooming by, earlier phrases and notions came back to haunt the reigning champs.
We beat the curse. and we've enjoyed good success.
I think right now everyone goes to sleep at night having nightmares about us.
I wouldn't bet against a Corvette being first in GT1.
For anyone to beat Corvette, I think we'll have to have a bit of luck on their side. But third place is definitely up for grabs.
For Team Corvette, the front-running favorites in the annual super race known as 12 Hours of Sebring, Hour 8 pulled an absolute 180 on the entire organization.
Everything was running like a Swiss watch. Perfect. Right on the money, everything was running perfect.
Coming down the backstretch at about 180 miles an hour, he went to step on the brakes and the brake rotor exploded. When that happens, you lose all braking. Plus, you can't steer the car. So he did the next best thing. He grabbed gear shift lever, pulled it down 2 gears, got the car to slide sideways, and kind of steered it into the tires. Huge impact, did a tremendous amount of damage to the car, but saved it, as opposed to piling it at 160 miles an hour head on.
One of 2 cars running for the team, the ride has a huge lead so far, but that will mean nothing if it can't return to the track. So for now, it's into the pit.
I got into the pits and I was telling them as I'm coming in what happened and what the car was feeling.
Right now I have no brakes. Something broke just as I went to the brake pedal. The brake blew up. The right front brake blew up.
The boys went to work and I think it was maybe 10, 12 minutes, fixing the thing, getting it back to where I could get out there.
In the pit, they worked fast, swapped out the wheel works and the damaged rotor, counting on the fact that the car was still many laps ahead, figuring that time in the pit had better not borrow too much time the car had already earned. They also needed that famous racing formula.
It's 25% great team, 25% great car, and 50% luck.
And luck will be needed, as once lucky Team Corvette gets their number 3 car back in the running with a lot of distance to make up for. But luckily for the team, the number 4 Corvette is still out there and running strong.
You win and you lose as a team. This is racing, everything seemed perfect up to that second when the small things went wrong. So
You never know when luck's good is going to strike or luck bad's going to strike. And going into turn 17, fastest part of the racetrack, I went to the brakes and the right front rotor just exploded, disintegrated.
It was Johnny O'Connell who suffered behind the wheel with that blown rotor, and it was Johnny who got back into number 3, knowing Corvette 4 would take care of first place if car 3 couldn't do the job. O'Connell's first job was to take second place away from Aston Martin. So both cars from Team Corvette were now back on track and deep into the race. And lap by lap, car 3 was actually making up for lost ground. But just as you recall that notion about lightning never striking twice in the same place? Well, whatever you believe, don't buy into that old chestnut, because not even 14 minutes after O'Connell's accident, car 4 had its own disaster, with team driver Olivier Beretta behind the wheel.
While he was leading, in a corner, Porsche that he was passing lost control, spun, hit him in the right rear, knocked the right rear suspension right out from under the car.
So now both cars are damaged and possibly totally incapable of winning.
Ray, they got big problems in the back, dude.
This Corvette might even be out of the race altogether, thanks to this major smash-up. The contact with the Porsche caused serious damage to the right rear suspension.
Where's the wheel? Somebody's got to look at this right rear. Hold on, we got to get the diffuser off, too.
This Corvette pit crew now confronts its worst nightmare. The team needs to quickly replace the rear upright, the control arms, and the half shaft. In short, things seem impossible.
I think at one point they were 13 laps down with maybe 3 hours left. I have to tell you, at that point, anybody else would have just packed it in. Probably wouldn't even have fixed the car.
But not this team.
Wait, suck it! Here is the cross my fence. You can get up in there. I don't have one. Send somebody back. They're going to get it.
You know, it's a funny thing. You become a team like Corvette Racing, you're expected to win every time. You know, and you know, the fans expect it, and they don't understand, you know, just how hard it is to win these races.
Well, winning is one thing, but every now and then, the hard part is just staying in the race.
You know, when something like that happens, you know, you just have to keep focused and thinking, well, we can't give up now. We've got to keep pressing on, got to keep just going.
It's a nice thought, even though some things are not always possible. Against all the odds, Car 4 is back in the game. 12 hours of Sebring is the race where the favorites were a pair of cars from Team Corvette. But in these final hours, the big shock is this. Due to damages, the Corvettes struggle to stay in the race.
You know, the coolest thing about everybody at Corvette Racing is they dig deep, they never quit.
But these guys jumped on it, got it fixed. Drivers got back in and raced their heart out.
Amazingly, the crew now has both damaged cars back on the track. The recently injured number 4 car has now joined the recently repaired number 3, with both cars trying to regain their one-time untouchable leads.
Absolutely no give up in the team. They limp the cars back. The teams go ahead, get these things fixed, and they're not out there just cruising and collecting points. They're racing them hard. I think Johnny turned to 57 at the end of the race. Almost the fastest lap of the race, after the damage and after the crews went to work and repaired them.
Now the cars are driving beyond mechanical possibilities and driver's endurance, trying to rally with little time left in the race. And the question as the checkered flag comes down is the only question that matters. Did they do it? It was a strong comeback for both Corvettes, but not enough to take the victory away from that new young team from Aston Martin. The visitors from across the pond who came here to win and did just that.
I mean, from looking basically unbeatable, you know, we're here that, you know, we finished second and third.
In the brand new C6R, Oliver Gavin, Olivier Beretta, and Jan Magnussen.
"12-hour Sebring, first 12-hour for our C6R and for the Corvette team. You know, definitely, you know, we tried very hard. You know, it was a flat-out 12-hour.
In second place after an eventful afternoon and a great fight back for Max Pappas, Johnny O'Connell, and Ron Fellows in the number 3 Corvette C6R.
Now, we must have lost 3 or 4 laps. You know, with that failure, we lost the race by 1 lap.
The Aston Martin TBR9, number 57, Dave Brabham, Darren Turner, and Stefano Telly. And we'll have the confetti. Look up this way, guys. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
The Corvette, you know, is just an unbelievable machine.
We had a car that was fast enough to win this race, and that always just grinds a little bit.
If we would say that we are satisfied with it, we would not be racers. You know, we would just be participants. We are winners. So our goal is winning, and hats off to the guys that won, but at the same time, you know, see them at the next race.
When you're talking about a championship caliber team, you know, second and third isn't winning. So we leave here with just a little emptiness in our hearts, but it's just that much more drive that you develop to come back out the next time and prove you can do it.
And if any bunch can come back to prove almost anything, it's the builders, the crew members, and the drivers of Team Corvette.
We take this, we learn from it, you know, we go back to the gym, we hit the bag harder, you know, we jump more rope, and, you know, we show up at Le Mans ready to do even tougher battle.
Well, first things first, with a couple of races to run here in America. And the next big race that followed Sebring was at Road Atlanta. It was there that these new rides did something quite familiar to the members of Team Corvette. They came in second and first. And not long after that, in their class, they grabbed the top 2 spots in that 24-hour classic, Le Mans.